approaching sunset. Traffic southbound number 3 lane. Exiting at sunset. Traffic exiting at sunset. We'll notify LAPD.
911, what's your emergency? This is how can I help you?
911 emergency. What do you report?
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another great episode of We Speak Dispatch. Because if we're speaking dispatch, you should be listening to this stuff. It's important that we talk about these things. Hey, we got a big crowd today, folks. We got Joe, we got John, we got Glenna, we got Leslie. Holy cow, we got a big full house today. And we also have a special guest with us. Alana, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us about you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alana Haddock, and I have been a public safety dispatcher for April 6th will be 29 years.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. I don't know how I survived so long.
What are you going to?
Yes, I started April 6th, 1992.
Oh, mercy.
And yes, looking at the front door of retirement soon.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yay.
But I don't like to tell how many years I've been there because it tells my age. So I have to say I started like when I was 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you been with the same agency the whole time?
Same agency, yes, same comm center
Yeah.
in Los
Oh
Angeles.
my God.
29 years.
Wow.
That is fantastic. There are not
Thank you.
people out there who could say that. That is awesome.
And,
That
boy,
is.
on
And
this
still healthy,
panel-
still, still surviving, still making it on
Wonderful.
12 hours.
And still loving your
So,
job.
Wow.
Yes, and I do. I still love my job,
That's
Oh,
good.
wow. What a
Awesome.
which
testament.
is,
Oh.
yes.
It is
So-
kind of a nice thing. I mean, could you look at the panel we have right now? I'm retired. Leslie's about right behind me, going to retire. So, there's going to be a number of us that are going to be retired here soon. So, that kind of,
Yeah, I'm interested, and I know we've got a different topic, but because of just the fact that we've got some people on here now, what is your agency going to do when you walk out the door for the last time? All that knowledge that you have,
yeah.
how are you sharing that before you log off for the last time?
That is a huge thing.
Mhm.
And we talk about it because back in my day, there were huge classes. You had maybe 8, 10 people in a class, and now they don't have classes like that anymore. You have maybe 2 or 3 people coming in at max at the same time.
Wow.
Right.
So those of us that were able to come in as a big class and share that, a lot of us will be leaving around the same time.
Mhm.
So that is of concern. For myself as a trainer, I've trained over 25 employees in
Wow.
my career.
Thank you.
So, yes, successfully. I had one that didn't make it, but that one wasn't my fault. When I got him, he was already 1 foot out of the door. So I don't claim that one. So, but a lot of the knowledge, as we know, being in dispatch, has come from experience. Can't
Right.
read it out of a book.
Yeah.
You can go, I always associate it like driving a car. No matter how many manuals you read, how many simulators you do, you can't get in that vehicle and say, okay, I know everything about driving a car, I can drive it.
Yeah.
You still have to actively do the job to learn it. So we know that we never know everything about our job. Every day, no matter me at 29 years, there are things that I still learn, like, oh, I didn't know we could do that. And so those are the things I think that leave and retire with us. That type of knowledge that we've learned from experience and not something we read out of policy or a manual.
Right.
And we try as much to pass it on. But what we found is that once my agency went to 12 hours, a lot of it was lost because when we were doing 8-hour shifts, there was a hybrid between senior and junior people. Once we went to 12s, it separated the seniority greatly. So most of the weekend people are like your 3-year and less people, opposed to like, we call it Senior Wednesday, because on Wednesday, all the senior people, the least senior person is like 20 years. So we are like, oh, Senior Wednesday, great. You're stuck wherever you are, because the senior people are like, nope, not working that, not taking that.
Wow.
So it's a totally different day on a Wednesday than on a Saturday.
Right.
Oh,
So
wow.
the seniority, we used to be able to share knowledge, but if me as a 29-year person is hardly there, but maybe one shift during the week with a 3-year person, maybe on Monday, because they're there every other Monday and they're off the other days that I'm there. So that's when we started to see a lot of loss in knowledge passing on. When we shared
That's the
seniority and just had 2 days off,
yeah.
we were there with those junior people still, even though they're released from training, off probation, we were still there to guide, teach, mentor.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's something that's lost, we noticed with a lot of the alternate work weeks.
And I noticed that when we were at different centers I worked at, they wanted to switch to 12s. And I'm like, you do end up with this block of seniors and block of juniors. And it's like, they don't get to interact with each other and experience that whole thing of what did you do back in the day? Or how did you handle these kinds of things? So yeah, it does kind of change things. And speaking of that, we're talking a little bit about the adult learner, how people learn in this kind of environment, walking in. Our guest we had on at another episode was a guy who'd been on a long time, and he was talking about new technology for seniors. He started this job at 50, and he's going into this kind of a thing. So that kind of changes things. So what is some of the secrets of training somebody who's an adult learner? What are some of the things we should be aware of that we're doing that stuff? I'm opening it to anybody who wants to respond to this. So whoever wants to respond, step up.
I want to hear from Alana. She's got 25 people.
Hello.
This is the
Okay,
Alana show
for
right now.
me,
Right.
actually, the adult learner is a course that I teach for our training for training course.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's
perfect.
an 8-hour course that I teach with one of my fellow dispatchers, Devon Young. And the course that we teach starts with like the modalities of learning, just basically like visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and tactile. And we start off with a test. And we think that it's great that you understand, if you don't know, that you understand what type of learner you are. So we took the test ourselves to see, and I know I'm a visual learner. I need to see you do it, and then it works best for me.
Yeah.
So I think that it's very important to start off with what type of person you're training and how do they learn? Because if I assume that they're visual like me, they'll never get it. And you have some trainers like, oh, they're failing or they're not making it. No, it's the style of learning that doesn't work for them. Maybe they're auditory. They need to hear it.
Yeah.
So I think that we as trainers are the ones that have to adjust to our trainees, not vice versa. They come in the door. This is new to them. We are able to adjust and bend and adapt more to their style to help them get the job and learn more than them trying to adjust. We can't, the old school way of, okay, this is how I train and that's it, and you learn it this way, it doesn't work for this generation.
Amen.
We have to learn what tell me how to help you learn.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then I can then adapt to maybe, if you're a tactile learner, then maybe that's what I need to do. I need to start with procedures and things that fall into that tactile or visual. You need to see it, you need to view it, you need to observe it.
Yeah.
And I think that it's important. Number one, we start with that.
It's funny
And
you
even
mentioned.
prior to that, one of the things that I like to do is before I start training, I do a mini orientation with my trainees.
Mhm.
I don't just like, hey, it's our first day. Okay, sign on. And, we start. I take them off the floor for a few minutes and I introduce myself and explain how I learn. I'm a visual learner, a little background on me. I ask them whatever they would like to share so I can learn a little bit about them.
Yeah.
Do they have small kids? Did they ever work a job where they even worked on a computer? One time, you may have someone that was a barber. You may have someone that worked in a bank. They're not used to shift work. They've never worked 12 hours. It's very important that we learn who they are, their background, and then bend around them. Maybe they have a small child and they are up all night with a small child and have to come in and work a 12-hour day, or they've never worked a graveyard shift in their life. They have no idea what it's like to stay up all night. So I like to start off with a small little orientation, and that helps me when they come in or having a bad day, or maybe they're going through something. It's up to whatever they choose to share. They can keep private what they like, but whatever they would like to share with me to help me to teach them and to be patient with them or whatever I need. So that is where I start.
All right.
With adults, because I
Don,
think
what
it's
did you
important. We all
have,
have
Don?
lives outside of this job, and sometimes we have to understand whatever they have going on. Maybe they commute far,
Right.
because they really need this job and they're driving 2 hours. So we need to talk
Actually,
to them.
we have someone who does that. So
Yeah, Glenna is great.
Exactly. So just for me, I like to start with introducing myself, and then maybe they suffer from some type of illness, if they're willing to share that and say, sometimes I may need extra breaks, but I ask them whatever you like to share that may help me to understand you and
Yeah.
teach you or get some background on you. I appreciate it. That's what I like to do in the beginning.
I think that's something we can all learn from. John, what did you have?
It was funny, Alana, you mentioned about, I totally agree that we as trainers have to adapt to them. We're the seasoned professionals and they're new to it. It's funny because sometimes trainers will ask their recruits or their colleagues and say, things aren't clicking, we have conversations, and say, well, how can I help you?
Yes.
And sometimes the response is, I don't know. The trainee, the individual being trained, does not know what else is needed. And we may try different things that have worked in the past or try new things that we're like, well, let's see if this works, just to give some opportunity and lessons to people. But sometimes individuals don't know how they learn best.
That's true. I mean, that sometimes they just have no idea how they're going to pick up this job. It's like that. I mean, Leslie, you train around the country too. I mean, I'm sure you encounter people that have coming from different professions. How do you kind of get the message across to these folks that are out there?
Well, and a lot of what Alana is saying is definitely ringing true with me is knowing what type of learner and what types of things can work. And I love the fact that she's connecting with people because, and she mentioned, when a lot of us started, it was sit down, shut up, we're going to teach you how to do it. And now addressing their needs, but to John's point as well, they don't know what they don't know. So
Yeah.
you like Alana's talking about, you have to be the expert. And I would imagine, Alana, since you're teaching this class, that your trainers know, okay, this is an auditory person. Well, that might not be my style. These are some of the techniques I'm going to use. So what have you found, say I'm a visual learner like you are, but can you give us some hints on, okay, here's what we do for an auditory learner, or here's some things that worked for a kinesthetic learner, and give us some of those insights?
I would say for visual, of course, watching us do it. And that also works kind of with tactile. And I would say for auditory, sometimes maybe going back, listening to recordings of maybe their dispatching or their 911 calls, or listen to those calls that may be some difficult calls that you may have taken or that your training unit may have. So sometimes listening to how to handle it, I think helps.
Right.
Like this, or critiquing them, not too much, but just, okay, on this call, what could we have done better on this?
Right.
When they listen back. So I know that helps with auditory, because they're like, oh, I did hear that, or I did miss that, or okay,
yeah, because
now
they
I'm hearing
pick up
it.
on that. Because they're auditory, they can pick up on the voice inflection and the speed and all of that stuff that maybe somebody else can't, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Joe?
So I think-
you teach a lot of people out around the country. What's your little secret to figuring out how these people learn?
Well, I like to look at their behaviors of communication and how they learn best, and behavior analysis and communication and adult learning styles, what they've kind of talked about. I definitely like what Alana and Leslie have said about that. But I like to talk about the 5 M's of training. Okay. And when I talk about the 5 M's of training, I'm looking at task specific, where you need to learn how to do something. And the first M is model it. So as the trainer, you need to model how to do that to the trainee. And the second one is to mentor them. Let them try it, but you're mentoring them and coaching them along the way. The third M is to monitor them, where they try to do it themselves, but you kind of back off a little bit more. And then the fourth M is to motivate them as they go through it. Everybody can use encouragement every single day. And then the last thing is to multiply and do the next task and the next task, but making sure we're doing the modeling, the mentoring, the modeling, the mentoring, monitoring, the motivating, and then multiplying the task to get them off of training. So I like to talk about.
He was talking about modeling. I thought,
Yeah.
modeling how to do something.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense to me then.
Not high school pictures or senior pictures or anything like that.
And the
no.
6th M is me. So, all right, Glenna. So, what's I know you train a lot of people too. So, what's your method of operation, or your MO?
So Alana is so on point with this. Our training took off when we went to teaching our trainers the basic learning styles and how do you teach to those styles. I want to take it just one step further real quick, because I teach a class and I teach it to command staff, because that's where everything starts really. If command staff wants it to happen, if command staff wants to perpetuate something, then it's going to happen. And so the class that I teach to command staff is an adult learner class. And it teaches them and reiterates to them the different learning styles, because learning is the word that we're using, but really what we're saying is, how do you receive information? So even in this conversation here, we're all receiving the same information, but I'm a kinesthetic learner, so I learn by doing. Leslie is a visual learner just because I know her so well. I know how she learns, but that's also how she receives information. So in this class with command staff is we tell them, you may be putting out the information, but it's the important part is who is receiving it and how they're receiving it. Yeah. Because if you don't put it out how they're going to receive it appropriately, then they're not going to learn anything from it. And it's really opened a few people's eyes. I say a few because some people don't listen to me, but it's really opened their eyes to just communication, and every time, a chief gives a directive, he's telling, his command staff, this is how it's going to be. They're receiving it, but then how are they giving it out and how are they receiving it? It all goes back to your learning style. How do you receive information? So you guys can
a lot of
this.
I say the same thing when I'm out teaching. I say the same thing about perception. It's how that person's receiving. It could be completely different. I mean, I found that with emails that you send out that you think are funny, but they really come back saying, "Oh, hell no." So
I had that recently.
So, all right. So in our final few minutes here, Alana, give us what is one thing they can take away in just a few remaining seconds we got, but what's one thing they can take away from you?
One thing to take away, I just would like to say that we also in this generation have to remember age, that if you're training someone younger than you, not to talk to them condescending or like a child. And if someone is a little more mature than you, be careful not to be offensive or be respectful to that as well. And I think that's important because that can block learning depending on how you talk to someone.
Wow.
And that is so important when you're talking to a young person that could be older than your kids. Right. You have to be careful and still how you approach that they are still your coworker and not like your young child. So that is important because that makes a difference in them receiving information too, how we talk to people.
Yeah, that is huge. I mean, I think age is a big issue with a lot of our jobs. We just talked about age with another episode. So age is big. Did you have something, Leslie, real quick before we get out of here?
Yeah, I just, I think it all boils down to we have to respect each other. Yes. No matter what age you are, what you're bringing to the table, where you come from, what you know, what you don't know. Yeah. We have to remember, and Alana started this off perfectly with, it's all about connection and relating to people and respecting people. And yeah, this job isn't for everybody, but that doesn't make somebody who this isn't their career choice less than any of us who have made this our life's work. So it's just, I love that we have evolved to the point where, like Alana's talking about, we respect people. We change our tactics for what they need. And I think that's going to propel us
for the future.
To propel us forward as we move forward in this profession.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's great. This episode is another one of these killer episodes that I think we could go on and on for a long time on this topic. It's such a good one, but it's like, well, unfortunately, we have to end this at an appropriate time.
Alana, thank you.
Yes,
thank you guys. Thank you for having me. Well, nice meeting you all.
Thank you.
Good luck in your career.
So listen up, everybody. So if you are listening to our broadcast here, Joe is our podcast maven. Joe, how many podcasts are we seen on now or heard on?
Oh, man, we're on a lot of them. I know of at least 12. We're on
12 different podcasts. And how many countries listen to this podcast?
Countries? We are up to at least 14 different countries with our last one. With our last one being, let me just get that out there. I believe it is Puerto Rico. It is. Last two is Malaysia and Puerto Rico. Last two is Malaysia and Puerto Rico. So in Australia, we're in 14, 15 different countries.
Cow, we are listening to all over the world on this thing. That is so cool.
Including Madagascar.
And Madagascar.
Yeah.
and Canada
Hello
and
to our
Ireland. We're all
Madagascar
over.
friends. So I'm not sure, but all right. So hey, look at if you enjoyed this episode and you want to join our fan club, just send us an email. We'll be glad to send you a sticker that said, or not a sticker, decal that you can place anywhere you want that shows you're a fan of this thing. If you also want one of our great We Speak Dispatch masks, which are completely
Yes.
flexible, adjustable, and just awesome. Just send us an email. We'll tell you how to get one for free. So it's real easy to get. So I appreciate everybody's time and patience out there. Alana, thanks for stopping by and
Thank
joining
you
our little
for
group
having me.
today.
Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, everybody. Good night.
Awesome.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, it's Michelle, and you've been listening to another great episode of We Speak Dispatch, proudly sponsored by our friends at Zybex.
Down approaching sunset. Southbound number